Good evening, everybody. Tonight, these candidates are vying for your first preference vote in the Pukehīnau Lambton Ward by-election. But with every election, there's one thing stepping in their way, and that's your vote. Good evening and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show here live from Thistle's Community Hall. And we have got 7 fantastic candidates here tonight, and let's peel their faces off one by one. Okay, so let's Joan, can you please reveal yourself? Just drop down the picture, say hello.
Hey, hello, I'm Joan.
It's got to have the microphone.
Hello, I'm Joan Shi.
Okay, next up we've got Edward. Would you like to reveal yourself, please?
Kia ora koutou. Hi, I'm Edward Griffiths.
Okay, next up, Ellen.
Kia ora tātou, I'm Ellen Blake.
Next up, Peter.
Hi, Peter Wakeman here.
Okay, next up, Karl.
Kia ora. I'm not Karl. He's probably scooping gelato.
Okay, next up, Geordie.
I'm not Geordie, he can't be with us tonight.
And last up, Zan.
I'm not Zane, and Zane couldn't come either.
It's all right. And for those, and just for a reminder for those who are wondering, with these free mystery people on the end, I'll be giving them nice, lovely little alligator clips here. Please stick those pictures to the seats so the viewers at home will be reminded that 3 candidates have their spots specially reserved for them. So the fun part about tonight is we get to sit there and kick off. Now we're just gonna we'll get the camera on the candidate of the ready for when the when they get the candidates on there of Yep, perfect. So I've got 3 people in spirit here who are here tonight. So just remember their seats are available, and if they're welcome to attend tonight, they've got them perfectly available. But we've got 4 fantastic candidates here who are vying for your first preference votes, maybe also your second and your third preference vote, because the great thing about this particular STV election is the fact there's only one position available, which means in order to be that successful candidate, you must receive a minimum of 50% of the votes after all iterations are exhausted, +1. So these candidates are going to have a much higher bar to get on there, but this election, second and third preference votes are a lot more important than they would be in a normal election in the Pukehīnau Lambton Ward. So let's kick off. Joan, would you like to kick off with your opening statements of why the voters should give you their number 1 preference vote?
Hi, I'm Joan Shi. I'm standing because I'm frustrated with the Wellington City Council financial situation and the service they delivered, which are not good for good value for money. They need a stubborn person like me, also a ratepayer, to offer Wellingtonian the water security. We always say Wellington is the coolest little capital in the world, but it is not cool at all. if we aren't even be able to fix those leaks everywhere. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Edward.
Kia ora, Wellington and online. I'm Edward Griffiths. I have lived in Wellington Central and Cuba Street and Oriental Bay for the past 15 years. I'm incredibly passionate about Wellington as a city. I think we've got an amazing city to live in. And as a core public servant for the last 15 years, I think I've got the skills, knowledge and attitudes to help us on the council become the city we aspire to be. And I'd really like to see Wellington live up to its aspirations. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Alan, your opening statement.
Namahanui Pukehīnau, ko tēnei taku me ki ngā mana whenua o te rohi nei. Ka mihi hoi hoki o ki ngā tohu o te rohi nei, no reira tēnei koutou katoa. I'm a long-time resident of Pukehīnau Ward. I grew up here and I went to school here. I brought my family up here and did all the school-based activity that goes with that. I've worked a wide range of jobs, including core public service, from small to large business, and run my own as well. I'm a member of many local community and some national organisations. This place is home for me. When my children were small, I became interested in how local government can make our lives better. And I'll continue to work for a better Wellington for all of us, addressing our big issues with local solutions. Let's use our strengths to take action with achievable, high-value, not high-cost projects. So I've got 3 priorities. Support for climate-friendly transport. That means going to our strengths, bus priority and decluttered footpaths. More and varied green spaces developed to fill the gaps in the park network, particularly in the inner city, provide quality, affordable, accessible housing for all. Vote number 1, Ellen Blake.
Okay, and next up, Peter.
Welcome everybody who participates in democracy. I have stood for council before and parliament, and it's the only time that politicians are really keen to respond to the public mood out there. And to me, it's been a nightmare reading about the Wellington Mayor. And the code of conduct, I just find I'm lost to where Wellington is going. I wonder if commissioners are going to be appointed. I wonder what's happening to the water. And I just wonder what the Minister of Local Government is going to do. I'm a former passenger jet airline pilot, flew with Singapore Airlines and their subsidiary. And I understand the finance aspect of matters and with respect to governance, the decisions that the council make. But basically public opinion determines the policy, and I believe we need debt-free money to address the current issues that have been left far too long to get Wellington up to 2024 and beyond. So Wakeman it's an STV vote. So that means you number the candidates, and I'm after your number 2 or number 1. But remember to post it and get it in well before the deadline. It's no good voting and leaving your ballot paper sitting around. So all the best. Enjoy tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and now next up, let's get from our ghost here. Karl, would you like to sit down there and give a couple of minutes work? Geordie? Zan? So, there's their opening statements for the night. Okay, so let's get to our fun part tonight. Jill, our candidate liaison, is just at the moment having a lot of fun trying to do hooking up microphones to try and make everything all work. We've had a bit of a fun part of trying to get everything all around, and as you can see, our candidates are in the overshot there. Sorry, our camera person is currently meant to be our control desk person. I was going to say, are we able to get someone at the mixing desk, please, so we can sit there and do it? Because our candidates look absolutely fantastic, but no one can see Jill and myself. Gee, it seems to be one of those nights of what do you call it? Quite a fair bit happening. But how is it in the candidate liaison department tonight, Jill?
It is fantastic. These guys have been great. They've coped with all my my things that I've had to get organised tonight.
Yeah, and can we also thank the audience who are also here, and we've managed to also get another Jill who is going to is the what's your position at Inner City Wellington? You're on the committee, the engagement person. So tomorrow night, if you want to retune in for It's in the Ballot, we'll be having the Inner City Wellington Meet Candidates debates with some very good questions. So all the question boxes are secure. Okay, so how things work here for those who may have forgotten or gone with how things work at It's in the Ballot. Candidates pick a box number and then they've got to sit down there and answer the question in the box. Each candidate gets given 2 button cards so that if, say, another candidate picks a box they like and they really want to give their answer, they use their button card. And then if they get that very nasty curveball question they don't want to answer, they can use their defer card to another one of the candidates. I recommend the defer cards get sent to Karl, Geordie, and Zan. That's my advice, because then at least I'm not telling you which one of the ones who are here to give it to. So, first up, Edward, what box number?
That is a great question. This is not something I prepared for. It's been a long time since I've seen the money in a bag.
Don't worry. I put it this way. I have not been on the show since it was in the radio show in the 1950s like Selwyn was.
Jill, would you surprise me?
I'll give you number 5.
Fantastic.
I have no idea what's in there, mind you.
I'm sure to be a goodie.
So, I have selected for you question
Where's my defer card?
AA, which is Alpha Alpha. So the question is, successful organisations have continuous improvement programs. What improvements do you think Wellington City Council needs to make?
Oh, I'm so relieved. Thanks, Jill. There's not an organisation I've worked for where I've been on the outside and known what's going to be like on the inside. So I think the perception from an outsider looking in, there is a lot of media around how hard it is to work for Wellington City Council. And I don't want to prejudge what it is like for the councillors and for their staff and for the staff of the Wellington City Council and wider. I'd love to continue what I do in my current role, which is to support environments which are socially accepting, socially safe, where people can bring their whole self to work, and where we set people up for success. And that's what I'd love to see at Wellington City Council.
Ooh, Alan's got a button card.
Thank you.
Thanks, Edward. So you asked what improvements do you think that Wellington City Council needs to make as far as continuous improvement goes. So I think there's a couple of things that they could really improve on, and I'm sure that they already are working hard on getting better at public engagement. Honestly, it's one of the things that people say the most about engaging with the council. They didn't hear me, they haven't talked to me, how do I get involved? They didn't ask. So that's one thing that I think is really important, because this is a local democracy. We need to be transparent about our decision making. The other thing I would say is that they need more analysis on where they spend money and what the gaps are. And when I talk about parks, transport, accessibility, ethnic groups, gender bias, there's a whole lot of things that we don't know about who gets all the money. So I think that's some of the gaps that I would like to see filled, and that a bit of continuous improvement would help. Thank you.
And Peter, you wanted to use your button card as well.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it starts with the voters. And if you look at the voter turnout, 43% for the last election, it shows the community is not engaged. To have an engaged community makes politicians more engaged, more accountability. We're losing the sound a bit. And the situation is that political interests are important, but due diligence for voting starts from the voter. It starts from how the council make their decisions, the information that they get, and whether they have an input and an open mind for the best decision. But too often, New Zealand goes for a short-term decision rather than a more expensive long-term decision. And I think that's what we've got to do, is a long-term decision, and the government can help us pay for it because we've been asleep at the wheel. So Wakeman for council. Thank you.
Okay, so now that we've finished with our first question, let's go to Alan. You get to pick the next box number. What are we doing?
I feel like I'm getting picked on. Two rebuttals in the first
Oh,
question.
yes, but you have two
Your
button
turn
cards
now,
anyway.
That doesn't sound right for politics.
I think I'm feeling kindly towards number 21, please.
Yes, the voting age when my grandma first voted in 1949. Very interesting election.
Okay, Alan, you have chosen letter E for echo. So Te Moe Mahana, which is Wellington City Council housing, is now a trust as opposed to being owned and managed by the council. Would you advocate for Te Toi Mahana board members to appoint or elect tenants who live in their properties in the same way Huhana Hiki was appointed to Kianga Ora?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. I wasn't exactly sure what Huhana Hiki's been, how she's been appointed to Kianga Ora, the public housing trust, but I totally support tenants being involved in looking after and managing their own places that they live. So I totally support tenant representation on that trust board, which is the new way that City Council manages its public housing. So public housing is a real key to providing affordability for people. So I totally support council being involved in public housing and having tenant representation on Te Toi Mahana. Thank you.
And just to let you know, Huhana Hiki is the only person in New Zealand history to actually have sat on the board of Kianga Ora, which is the first tenant to actually be in there. And if anyone knows Huhana, she is a Indigenous rights lawyer, and also has spent all her life in a wheelchair. So put some context to picture. Peter, what box number?
Number 1, thank you.
Oh, yes. Is this the TV channel we should be broadcasting on?
Only if you get taxpayer money.
So we have K for kilo. There are over 1,000 commercial property listings on Trade Me in central Wellington for lease. Do you think council has a role in reducing the number of empty commercial properties?
Well, the only way that some of these commercial properties, in my view, can sometimes be used is if the housing was where the jobs are, and that helps reduce the climate footprint. So I'm not saying all commercial properties are suitable for housing, but I would like, when you have a crisis and a shortage of housing like we do in Wellington, it's very expensive. We've got to have ways of making it cheaper for housing. And the council, when they build houses or allow it, consent it, I think they also need to make sure there are lifts in there in some of those developments, so people with big houses can get smaller houses and have access and be close to shops and everything. So as far as the council is concerned, it's really a planning matter and decisions with respect to different plans, district plans and all that. So it's a council decision-making apparatus for anything like that.
Okay, Joan, what box number?
You mean?
Yeah, you choose box number. Yeah, it's your turn.
Your turn to choose a box number.
I would like to choose number 9. Thank you.
Okay, we have question B for Bravo. Do you think we should have binding referendum on using water meters to charge for water?
My question would be no, because I think the binding referendum will cost money, and my opinion would be we just progress with meters. And at this moment, I do a bit of research, and so region face the 300 million to install smart water meters. And so it will cost like around 1.5K to 2K per household. So we got to understand how to fix that problem and how to pay that bill. So yes, so my question would be no, but we need to focus on how to progress with meters. That would be another topic for me to explain the reshape between Wellington City Council and Wellington Ward. But that will be another topic. Thank you.
Okay, up to the next round in a new order. Peter, you get to kick off this one. What box number?
Number 2, please.
We have question O for Oscar. Should Wellington City Council social housing be offered first to people who are Wellington City residents?
Well, we've got to have housing to offer people, and regardless of the waiting lists and urgent needs, we don't want lots of bureaucracy in trying to determine that. But the housing costs, in my view, are too expensive, and we need more housing rather than putting people in hotels. The government can give us money to do housing, or the government can do it themselves. And there's been underinvestment, 2 incomes to buy a house, and the rates for owning a house, if you've got a mortgage, and the insurance is very costly. And if you rent, it is very costly. And, you know, Wellington is just too expensive. We've got to do something about it. And it looks like the government's policy for housing, you'd have to ask a serious question, is it laying off 28,000 Wellington people to free up housing? You know, that seems rather drastic, but market forces are market forces.
Okay, Joan, what box number would you like to pick?
1A, 18, please.
We have question P for Papa. What's your biggest priority for the next term, and how do you intend on delivering that?
Definitely water crisis, but how to achieve that? So at this moment, I'm doing research on the Wellington City Council and the Wellington Water. So Wellington Water are funded by 4 councils: Hart City, Upper Hart City, and Porirua City, Wellington City Council City. And so we need to discuss the funding, and it has to be the collective work, because otherwise our ratepayers can't afford all the costs. So my thinking is that either Wellington City Council, they bring their own team in-house, or that Wellington Water independently run their own funding. So, but so that's at this moment my thinking about reshape. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we got a button card.
Why not? I totally agree with what Joan says. Wellington City water is a massive issue currently, but I think it's an issue that is in isolation, and it's really popular currently. But it's a symptom of a wider issue around rundown of our infrastructure that's happened over the last 20 or so years. And I think in terms of focus for the next, for our term as councillors, whichever one of us wins it, is the 10-year long-term plan is focusing the funding that we get on the right things. So absolutely agree with Joan, but also agree that I think we need to make sure that it's not just what's the issue today, but what's the issue tomorrow. We're thinking long-term. Thank you.
And Peter also wants to put his button card. You don't want to put in a button. You've already answered the question. Well, yeah, but I don't think we've had that.
The question is a very important question, because I think the council really needs to make sound decisions. And with regard to infrastructure and the water, you wonder the reason for not fixing some leaks in busy areas. They might be worried about traffic stopping because it's already a challenging area. But I would hope that the council answers my Official Information Act questions and basically identifies what we need to spend, and the government come to the rescue with the Reserve Bank so we don't have to pay interest on that cost, raising it for ratepayers. So rather than selling off things like public-private partnerships, of which lose credibility as far as accountability, in my view, we need government financial injection because the rates are unsustainable for the costs that we're facing for the future with climate change and everything else like that. So Wellington has to be affordable, and we've got to do the infrastructure now, because the longer we leave it, the more expensive it gets.
Okay, Alan, what's your next box number?
Thank you. I think I'm feeling kindly towards 17 this time.
Oh, I think that's a prime number.
Yes, good prime numbers.
We have question G for golf. What is the most pressing issue in the Pukehīnau, Lambton Ward, Wellington City Council?
This is like the trick question, isn't it? What's the most pressing issue? So I was thinking, if I had to sum it up, what we really need is to be able to provide adequate quality infrastructure for the increasing numbers of people resident in this ward. And so we need to see more equitable services for people who live here as well. So if we think in transport, we need to see a priority for people who walk, which is by far the most popular way of getting around the inner city. Over 70% of trips in the inner city are by walking. So we need to see a priority on that. That's providing quality infrastructure for the transport area. We need to see more public green space. The inner city has got probably the least amount of green space in the whole city. It's really shocking, particularly if we want to intensify here. So that's a key quality infrastructure that we need. And we also need to see, obviously, quality housing has to make it work. Simple things.
Okay, Edward, what box number?
Ooh, I think I want to go with lucky 13, Te Matoro.
Oh, yes, and another prime number.
We have question H for hotel. Many non-arterial route traffic lights prioritise moving cars over pedestrians as its default. Do you agree with this prioritisation?
Well, I think Joan just talked to the number of pedestrians on the streets. As a pedestrian, I'm not sure that Ellen, sorry, my bad, my mistake. As a pedestrian, I'm not sure I've ever necessarily felt largely unsafe due to poor traffic management or poor management of intersections. I think Wellington City is a hub city. We have a number of supporting cities, including the Hutt Valley, Porirua, that people commute to come here. They commute to work. They commute to shop. We need to keep the balance between commuters and commuters in vehicles and commuters on foot and bike and public transports. We need to keep that stable, and we need to unlock our city we need to unlock the arteries of our city to enable growth.
And Ellen would like to use her button card.
So this is a very key thing for me. I'm a absolutely committed pedestrian advocate. That all the traffic lights in Wellington prioritise cars. I walked here today through the Basin Reserve. I had time to talk to the 5 people waiting at that traffic light. We were wondering, was there something wrong with them? The traffic light would not turn green for pedestrians. It is a key issue. If we want to improve the quality of life for people in the inner city, we must prioritise pedestrians. We've got to declutter footpaths, get rid of all the slip lanes, give the equitable timing at the traffic lights for people to cross the road. We need to get rid of those stupid beg buttons. You shouldn't have to beg to cross the road. It's very simple stuff. This is equitable treatment for people in the most popular form of getting around in the inner city by walking. Over 70% of trips are by walking. There was one traffic light that worked quite well. It's at Geordie Street and Manor Street. Go and have a look at that one. Thank you.
Sounds like we're going to have a lot of infrared sensors on our traffic lights if Alan gets in. And I certainly wouldn't mind that on some of the right turn arrows at times, where especially some of them where they need a bit tweaking. Peter, you get the next round. What's your box number?
Number 3.
We have question J for Juliet. Cars get fined if they use the bus lanes in the Haitaitai tunnel. Do you think we should repurpose the Haitaitai bus tunnel to use it to allow traffic to use to reduce congestion in the Mount Victoria tunnel?
Just to let you know, the Haitaitai bus tunnel is single lane.
Yes. The answer is no to this question, because I understand the new government wants to build another tunnel. I don't know when, but we'll find out. But I would be in favour of having some limited capacity used by taxis, because they're sort of a public transport operation as well, and it would be good for public transport operators. I'm not saying all taxis, I'm maybe saying some taxis, but it would have to be sort of rationed accordingly, depending whether the school holidays or what the situation is. And the government will find out about the second tunnel when it happens. Seats fastened. We'll find out. Thank you.
Okay, Alan, what's your next box number?
I think is 19 another prime number? I'll go for 19.
I think 19 is a prime number. I like that concept.
So we have question W for whiskey. What do you think we can do to reduce the number of private vehicles on Wellington's streets?
Another great question. So for a modern, future-proofed, climate-friendly city, we must address some of our biggest carbon emissions. So transport is the biggest carbon emitter in the city, and it's also one of the easier ones to deal with. So what we need to do is play to our strengths. So as I've said once or twice, the inner city is a key walking area. Most people walk in this inner city. The other thing that Wellington does really well is we have a great public transport system and a really high number of people who use, particularly in the inner city, the bus, obviously. So we need to improve both walking and bus travel. So I've talked about that briefly before. Declutter the footpaths. We can have wide footpaths if we took all the junk off. We can make better public spaces. We particularly need more space for kids. There's hardly anywhere for kids to play in the inner city. There's nowhere much for older people to go and play either. Where are the chess tables? There's a lot of things we could do.
And we have a button from Joan.
Yes, so I don't think we should reduce it, because actually when city CBD, the parking fee is quite expensive. So usually I believe that people should make their own choice. If the parking fee is so expensive and they still want to drive their private vehicle into this city, there must be reason behind that. Either they have elderly people or they have like a children that they need the car into the city. So in my opinion, I would like to let people make their own choice. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
And we've got another button.
Contentious here that I'm going to agree with both of my fellow candidates that I think we do need to reduce vehicles, but I'm not sure that making it painful to drive in the centre city is the way to do it. I think I think we have to look at what drives people to drive. People need to commute to the city. They're not coming because they have a desperate desire to. They're coming because they have to. Their jobs are here, businesses are here. This is the centre of the city. This is where the heartblood of our city is. people need to come here, and we can't just cut them off and stop them. But I love your ideas about the use of public spaces for greening the city. It's how we can balance and share those spaces while making Wellington a friendly and easy city to access. And I think those are not easy questions to answer, but I think it's worth some real consideration, which is why I decided to waste another card on.
Peter, I think you've used your 2 buttons.
So did someone else there.
Well, has everyone used 2?
That was his third one.
Was it his third one, Jill?
Yes,
Were you keeping tally?
Well, no.
Ooh.
Was it your third?
yes.
Accusing a politician of being untruthful, that's a very harsh thing to say there, Peter.
We're waiting for Stacey also. She does believe that as well. So okay, so because you used a third, we have to give everyone else a third.
Perhaps the viewers can tell us whether or not.
So you're going to try and use your third, Peter?
Thank you. The idea of having cheaper accommodation fit for purpose in Wellington, where the jobs are, would help reduce the times. But the thing is, it's so expensive for people to live where they work, that is increasing the commute requirements for having bigger roads. So people in Auckland, some of them live in cars and go to public swimming pools. So the idea is to have cheaper accommodation, but some corporates don't want people to live in Wellington because there might be an earthquake. And so they say, move to Auckland. There's only volcanoes there, you know. So I think we really do need cheaper housing where people have to work. And that would, in my view, reduce requirements for vehicles.
Okay, Joan, what box? Trying to think. Yeah, it's Joan. Yeah, what box number?
25, please.
We have question M for Mike. Southbound Willis Street is bus only. Do you agree with opening southbound Willis Street to general traffic?
At this moment, I'm not familiar with southbound Willis Street. So during this week and last week, I observed the Lambton Ward by foot. So I sent out the flyers myself and also talk to the people randomly on the street. But I haven't get there. But from my memory, the traffic there seems okay. So I will keep bus only at this moment until I have further funding. So at this moment, bus only is okay with me. Thank you.
And just for those at home who are wondering what it is, it's called a bus lane contraflow, which was first trialled, funny enough, ironically, because the London Council didn't want to pay to remove the trolley bus wires. So they put in a bus lane contraflow, and the rest of the world has seemed to copy it, including our own in Willis Street. So yeah, some little history of how the bus lane contraflow system works. Okay, Edward, what box number?
Ooh, what's the highest box on the table?
28.
Let's go for 28. Please and thank you.
We have question T for Tango. We need land for housing. How will you support freeing up land in the appropriate places?
That's a simple question, but it's quite a nuanced one. So I think freeing up suitable housing. So what is suitable housing and where are the appropriate places? I think Peter's talked to us a bit. The council, the council has a real role to play in making sure land is effectively utilised. And I think that's something I'd really love to focus on is the underutilisation of our current land resources and our current building stock. We have a number of buildings empty and derelict because of various reasons, often because of earthquake strengthening, compliance, the changing goalposts on various aspects of that, which makes it really challenging for people to actually best utilise land. And that, I think, needs to be a real focus for our council, and that's something I'd really love to champion if I were elected. Thanks.
And Joan wants to butt in.
Yes, so adding to what Ed has said, and also, yes, we need them for housing, and actually Wellington has them. We just needed to make right, so central government have to do the funding, and they, so the infrastructure is central government's responsibility, and for Wellington Council, they needed to do the rezoning, so this teamwork, collective work together, and so to solve this problem. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, and for the next round, Edward, you get to kick this one off.
Ooh, great. Could I have Tamatha, please? Number 14.
Question Q for Quebec. Many progressive projects in Wellington get stopped by those who don't want change. How will you ensure we can become a better city to live in and not be stopped by NIMBYs, which for those who don't know is people who say, not in my backyard?
Oh, the time is running already. Dogged persistence, I think. So I've made my campaign promises to be transparent in my decision-making and listening to what Wellingtonians really want to get the best outcomes for everyone. And I think this question really speaks to that. I expect to listen to people, but doesn't mean I'm going to listen to the ones that scream and whinge the loudest. I think we need to listen to the majority of people and the voter base and the real people of Wellington to make sure that we're delivering outcomes based on really good, robust, evidence-driven decisions that provide those outcomes for people, not based on, I don't like that. That's me.
Okay, Alan, what's your next box number?
What have we got left in our prime numbers? Any more prime numbers? Have we done number 1?
Yes, it's taken. Is number 7 there?
3.
Because that's a
What
prime
about
number.
3?
No, number 3's been taken.
Oh, okay. 7's good.
7.
Is that experience playing out?
Question F for Foxtrot. So the Wellington City Council is the second largest social housing provider in New Zealand with approximately 1,900 houses. Should the Wellington City Council increase its investment in social housing, reduce the current level, or reduce its investment?
Got a nice question again. So clearly I support public housing in Wellington. I support the council with its public housing portfolio. I think it's really important that we keep that and that we increase it because that's how we're going to get affordable housing. What we need to see is, I'm not sure exactly how the trust works and how the funds get put into the trust to buy more, but we definitely need to do more maintenance. There's a whole backlog of maintenance for the current social housing. There's bits that are going to be demolished that we need to replace. So I think it's really important that we keep going with public housing and make it quality housing that people want to live in. And we need to look at how we can do long-term renting better as well. So I really support rental warrant of fitnesses and stuff like that as well. So anyway, stop there.
And if you can talk to my mate Chloe Swarbrick in Parliament, please also have that done to tax returns as well. So you cannot do your landlord deductions if your rental house does not have a warrant of fitness. Yeah, that's just my idea. Anyone who wants to put that in a submission, go ahead. Peter, your box number.
Could I have number 4, please?
We have question V for Victor. What are you personally doing to role model climate action?
Thank you. That's my favourite question of the night. I eat a plant-based diet, and if you want to be as strong as an ox, you'd eat like an ox, and an ox eats vegetables. I drive an electric car, not everyone can afford one, but I use public transport where appropriate. And I sometimes walk one way and take public transport the other way. I find it less stressful looking for a park when you do have public transport. And Auckland is quite nice how they have bus lanes and great frequency. And I would like council, I'm standing for council because I believe we have to make it financially viable to reduce our emissions. And the Reserve Bank can give us debt-free money and we can spend it so we can reduce people's emissions. And we need food growing areas where the people are to reduce transport.
Alan would like to use a button.
Thank you. So I think I'll button here about what's am I doing personally to role model climate action. So I do quite a lot of things. I am constantly looking at ways to reduce my carbon footprint and the impact on the environment. The last carbon footprint I did was 5.5 carbon dioxide equivalents, which per year, and I thought that was a bit high. It wasn't. Some of the calculators are not great. I obviously walk everywhere as one of the only candidates sitting here who actually lives in the city, Pukehīnau Ward. I walk everywhere, or I catch the bus. And very occasionally I share a car. I home compost. I've done energy audits at home and improved insulation. I've added solar panels. I dry my washing outside. I ventilate the house frequently. These are all great carbon reducing things. I'm significantly involved in biodiversity protection in the city and in the wider region. I do a lot of bush restoration works. I work in the community groups to support good social cohesion and strengthening and looking after people who need it more than I do. So all of those are great carbon reducing, community building, biodiversity saving activities. Thank you. I don't think I could keep talking because I think the time is off. Hey.
Someone forgot to hit the key. Yeah, Joan, what box number?
26, please.
26. Oh, sorry. Okay, we have question L for Lima. The current speed limit in Wellington City, CBD, on its non-arterial roads is 30 kilometres per hour. Businesses are concerned that it is slowing down delivery times. Do you think that we should increase speed limits to 50 kilometres an hour? I think it was sorry, my mistake. Sorry.
Don't worry. I think I will stay neutral until I get a better feel of Wellington City CBD, because at this moment, just like I said before, I observe this city, the Lambton Ward by foot. So I haven't finished all the CBD part, but I have a feeling that if in a cloudy area, 50 km per hour would be too fast. So I think, but people usually quite be aware of that, so they will slow down to 30 km or 40 km per hour. So yes, my answer would be at this moment I stay neutral until I have further funding about that, because I actually that kind of person, that evidence based. So yes. That's my answer. Thank you.
And something that's useful to note is if you have a hybrid and you put it in EV mode, at 30 kilometres an hour, you use petrol when you're in the CBD? You only use the electric from the battery. So that's something else that is discovered when I rented a hybrid when my clutch went out on my internal combustion engine car. Would like to also thank Karl, Geordie and Zan for giving these candidates here extra opportunities to answer your questions. So Andre's got the camera on our empty seats. Yes. Thank you, Karl, Geordie and Zan. for giving these candidates an extra opportunity, well, quite a fair bit of extra opportunities to answer our viewers' questions. So we're going to take a bit of a break here so we can get our audience here, can sit there, mix and mingle and meet our candidates on first name basis, selfies and all that sort of stuff. And then we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes time for hard-hitting questions. Gee, that is my screw up. I hope you had a bit of a good time. I was the one who turned down the mixer so no one could hear us in the breaks, but forgot to turn it back up. So now we're back and we've had a bit of a good natter with all our candidates there. So let's kick off for hard-hitting questions. Welcome back. So with hard-hitting questions, these are the questions where we get all candidates to sit there and answer, well, those who actually turn up. If for those who chose not to turn up want to answer the questions, they're welcome to post it on Facebook and hashtag it's in the ballot. Okay, so with hard-hitting questions, every candidate gets all the gets to answer these questions here. And first hard-hitting question number 1. Do you support Panaki Ponaki, the Wellington City Council bike network plan to add over 100 kilometres of cycleways? Now let's get our random order sheet up. I haven't hit refresh yet, but we're going to kick off with Edward. You get to answer this question first.
Thank you. Put me in the hot seat for the spicy questions. I honestly remain unconvinced about our current approach and mechanism for delivering cycleways. I suspect, given the events at national level in October, that the funding that has driven the expansion of cycleways to the extent that it has won't exist. But I think that gives really intriguing and exciting opportunities for our cycleways to innovate and do things better, smarter, and stronger in future going forward, without the same blank check that we might have had to date. Where we can really prioritise the areas where there are high risk for cyclists or really high needs to unlock regions of our capital for cyclists to utilise. And I think that's quite exciting. Like it's pretty terrifying for the people that work there, but it's also quite exciting in terms of the policy opportunities to make it work.
Okay, next up, Peter, your answer.
My answer is yes, with financial considerations being the overriding matter, and obviously we have to do what the government tells us to do. At the end of the day, the ones who have the gold, and the government makes the golden rules for everyone else to follow, we hope. Electric bikes are a lot better these days as far as Wellington is concerned, because you can go up and down the hills, whereas you didn't have an electric bike, you couldn't. And people feel safer in numbers, and motorists watch out more when they see lots of cyclists. And when you're just a sole cyclist, it can be feeling quite overwhelming, because you don't want to be hit by someone's wing mirror. So I think safety in numbers is very important. And I think cycleways with Wellington and parking, we need more places for parking cycles, and I think that would help a lot. And all the best for cycling.
Joan.
Hi, no, I'm not supposed to add more cycleways. Let me explain, because some people will say I'm against cyclists, but it's not true, because I actually enjoy riding and I have my own mountain biking. But just that the reality is that Wellington Council has no money. And for me, I think the water security is more important. So I will focus on deliver water, fix those pipes first, and then if we have more money, we can do this later on. And so I'm not going to lie to get your vote, because I'm an honest person. I have to stick to my value. But I hope that one day I can ride my bike with you. Actually, that's very luxury for me, because I'm so busy at this moment. But I do hope one day we can ride the bike together. Thank you.
Okay, and Ellen.
Kia ora. So I support a focus on safe and sustainable, climate-friendly transport in an integrated plan. Now that means we need to have a walking plan. There is no current walking plan for Wellington at all. It's the most popular way to get around in the inner city. I think I've said that. It means that we need to focus on improving public transport. It's our second most popular way to get around in the inner city. The whole Let's Get Wellington Moving project was meant to make bus travel better. We need to keep doing some of that work to really improve and make buses the first option that people from further away can use. It means that the bike network plan needs to be better integrated with those other two modes, particularly, walking in buses. And I really support a bike lane on the quays. That's not even on the bike network plan. It's one of the areas that actually needs it. It means that we need to spend the available dollars that is going into all of the transport across the whole sustainable modes network so that we get a really good connected plan. And in any case, we need to do proper maintenance. We can't, as long-term plans bump some of that off, we need to make sure that we're maintaining things properly. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've finished off hard-hitting question 1. Let's go on hard-hitting question number 2. Now, this is going to be a bit of a juicy one. And thank you to, one councillor who has managed to actually give this there, because this will be one of the first issues you're going to have to deal with once being sworn in. What option will you vote with regarding the underinsurance problem of council assets? Now, these candidates have already been given the current options by the council officers. So which option would they choose and why? Let's kick off with Edward.
Again?
I know.
There are 3 options on the table, but I don't think any one of those options is going to fully fulfill the requirements. So I'd suggest that there would be an amalgamation of those 3, taking the best parts of all 3. This seems like a really politician answer, but it is realistic. There is no silver bullet to the funding issues facing the council, and we're going to have to use all of the tools in our toolbox to actually be able to address some of the expense that the underinsurance of our infrastructure is facing. I mean, having faced this within my own earthquake strengthening building, it's a real challenge, and being able to collaborate and find a solution is going to be a real challenge, and it'll be interesting for whichever councillor gets through. Thank you.
Alan.
Thanks. So this is a real life tricky question. So as I understand it, the insurance is becoming unaffordable. So we need to find a way to be able to insure things properly. What happens if we have a big earthquake? We need to have a bucket of money ready to pay for all the stuff that we all need for that. I'm not keen on reducing the services to pay for things. I think we're already squeezing services a lot. And we might need to raise rates, but we perhaps need to look at other mechanisms for providing funds and insurance. So that I think we're looking at a perpetual fund funded from selling some things like airport shares. Now, I'm really ambivalent about do we sell airport shares or not. It's not going to stop people flying, but it is an income source. I think I'd need more information on what some of the other options are, perhaps, for being able to fund and properly insure council services and facilities. Thank you.
Peter.
Well, it's a simple question, and if you look at what the free market is, it's a joke. The Governor of the Reserve Bank sets the interest rate, private banks create 98% of the money from nowhere. We have a Christchurch earthquake and the government buys AMI. They take over the insurance claims and then they sell AMI, which was a revenue generating exercise, and the premiums are up high. The government helped Air New Zealand out when they couldn't get insurance, and I think the government needs to give insurance, as they did years ago. Government cars weren't insured because the government had so many cars, it was economical for them to do it themselves. So I think the government has a role here, rather than feeding foreign insurance companies. The government treasury could provide cheap, no interest loans to the council and also insurance. And I think the council could give the government some money for that, along with other people.
Joan.
Hi. So if you let me, if we have to make the hard decision, I will go to number 1 and I will explain why. So number 2 is selling the airport shares. At this moment, according to my research, airport they profit quite well. So I'm not going to sell this one. And number 3, raising rates. From my personal opinion, for example, myself, I already struggling to pay the mortgage and the increasing rates. So I do it tough. So I believe that some of Wellington, same as me, in this like a tough situation. So I'm not going to raise rates. So the number 1 would be reduction on service. But because I haven't get elected, so I don't really sure that which service can be cut. So I will answer which service be cut once I get elected and then do my research. Thank you.
Okay. And the interesting thing about airport, we received, I think, a more than expected dividend this last financial year of about $17 million, which is quite a fair bit of the operating budget, and it's the equivalent of about would be, if that money wasn't there, your rates would go up by 4.25%. So that might be some useful figures to work out on the joys of airport shares. Now, hard-hitting question number 3. Do you think councils, do you think council, not councils, we're only one council here, should proceed with the $139 million Golden Mile project as currently approved, or should it reconsult with businesses and perhaps update the design? Now, let's see what the list goes. Peter, you get to go up first this time.
Thank you very much. Well, the council seems to spend a lot of money, and my understanding is they don't know where some of the pipes are on Lambton Quay. And I think we need to speak to businesses, but when you open any project, it starts costing so much, just like the library, and suddenly it gets out of control. And the more people you employ as consultants and everything, they find extra ways, just like legal people do, to spend extra money. And suddenly it's ballooned in costs. And, you know, we have to run by governance. You know, if a decision has been made, that's what happens. And there's extra costs to change course. So we're on the trajectory where the councillors probably have about a half a degree in rudder availability to which way the ship goes.
Okay, Joan.
I think we should reconsult with business and perhaps update the design, because at this moment, I know that Wellington CBD, the business, they do it tough, very tough, and some don't even able to survive. So yes, I think we need to put the priority right. So I will update the design. Thank you.
Edward.
Well, the decisions to proceed with the Golden Mile have already been made. Without having the full access to the information that underpins those decisions, I think I'd defer that question. I mean, I think there was some really good innovation and opportunities within the plan. And as a councillor, I'd really love to see us getting the rubber meeting the road on some of the less contentious aspects of the Let's Get Wellington Moving. I think Let's Get Wellington Moving and the Golden Mile are so unpopular, you know, that they're so politicised that it's almost impossible to continue them in their current state. But I think there's some really good ideas in there that need to be got started on. And as a councillor, I'd like to see that pushed through to actually make some real value add for the people of Wellington from all of that expense and consultation to date, without throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Ellen.
Great. So I think that the Golden Mile is our main inner city route, and it needs to be brought into the 21st century. We still have cars running up and down the route like any old little town. This is the heart of the city. 17,000 people live in this area. It needs to be upgraded significantly. The decisions have been made to keep going with some of it, so I'm not sure exactly how far some of the changes can happen, but I would really like to take a more tactical urbanism approach where we do some simple changes like closing off the side streets, adding all the mobility parking that was supposed to be there, simple stuff like that that doesn't cost a lot of money, but I'm not sure that we're at that point that we can make that decision without foregoing a whole lot of costs that have already been happening. Decluttering the footpaths could mean that we have wider footpaths available for people to walk on. There's serious crowds on a lot of the Golden Mile currently. Nicer bus stops would be great too.
Okay, and we've just got a few extra minutes here. So this is a question from Andre. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I did hear this right. If elected as councillor, will you consider it as a part-time job or as a full-time job? Yeah, Andre's now finding a microphone.
We've got a couple of spare seats if you want to take one.
Yeah, would he make a commitment to do many evening events as well, community events?
Go ahead.
Well, Peter Wakeman, standing for council, sees it as a full-time job. I'm retired, so I have a lot of things happening with the Ombudsman, my requests there, and the Ministry of Health and other things that I have been advocating for. And Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in my view, misinformation on their website. So I would participate in community aspects, and I might be able to afford to live in the ward with the extra income. And I believe it is a full-time job, and I don't have any other commitments. I am the highest tax rate at the moment, so I can afford to spend full-time council activities, and I'm not involved in running a business, even though I'm shareholders of businesses, and the shareholdings I'm part of, I do sometimes put resolutions to them, so I don't really see a conflict of interest.
Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
Kia ora. Great question. So I definitely think that being a Wellington City Councillor is a full-time job and should be a dedicated resource for people to really focus on the key things. I think talking to the community is key. I'd really look forward to going out and meeting all the resident groups, all the ethnic groups, all the bush restoration groups, all of the groups in the daytime and the nighttime, whenever it is that works for that. I think it's really important that councillors are available to talk to people. How else will you know what the feeling is? So it's, and being transparent about your decision making and what you're thinking and why you've decided something is really important. I think quite often we don't hear why councillors voted for something. I think it's really important to hear that. Some of these decisions are not easy to make. So yeah, full-time job for councillor that lives in the ward. Yay, vote number 1, Ellen.
Edward.
Thanks. That's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can be a councillor part-time. I don't think you could give it the focus and justice that it requires. Also, there's a lot of commitments to committees and other work alongside the core councillor role that need to be incorporated and really focused on and given. Yeah, you've got to do the due diligence to make those decisions well. And yeah, I absolutely look forward to the opportunity to get amongst the communities in a role as a councillor. We were up at the Gardens Magic just the other night, a couple of nights ago, and Wellington does some really cool events, and I think it's a really cool city to be part of. It's got a real vigor and vibe, and being out there as a councillor and being able to be accessible to the people that are voting for us is pretty powerful. So absolutely, and one of my promises is transparency. So hard to do that if you're not accessible. Thanks.
Joan.
Can I get a question again? Because I need to make sure that I understand properly. Thank you.
So it's whether you see the job as a part-time job, a full-time job, and if you would make a commitment to see groups in the evenings,
And the last one?
to go to community groups in the evenings.
Such as residents associations, like inner city Wellington.
Okay, I see. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a full-time job, and I guarantee you it will be more than 40 hours per week, because you need to do the research, and you need to talk to people, and you need to go to the association and to understand what they need. And I guarantee you also we have like no weekend for in the beginning, because if you want to do a good job, then it's kind of the way that you have to put your effort in. And also it affect you will realize that it affects a lot of people's life. So when you make a decision, you do need to be careful and be wisely to use your vote. So yes, it's a full-time job and more than 40 hours per week, I believe. Thank you.
And I certainly hope whoever is a successful person get a truck driver's logbook. And when you get to 70 hours, make sure you take that 24-hour rest period, because you're really going to need it. Okay, so let's get off to closing statements on why you, the voter, should give their number one vote to the candidates. Joan, you get to go up first.
Thank you. So why vote for me? Because this, I call it fair water system. This collective teamwork, and I'm a team player. At the same time, I also have energy, resilience, commitment, and also I'm very good in financial management. So yes, please vote for me. I will definitely a good counselor. Thank you.
Edward.
Thank you. I've lived and worked in Wellington for the past 20 years. I grew up here. I love Wellington City. I've got real passion for what our potential is as a place to live, to place to work, and a place to thrive. And I want to contribute to that. And I think as bringing my skills from my career in public service to the role as councillor, I could really add value to where we are as a council. And I want to live and I want to be part of the solution for Wellington. I want a Wellington for all Wellingtonians, and I'm prepared to put myself forward. I want to prepare to make myself accessible and be transparent, and listen to the people of Wellington, listen to the experts, listen to the evidence, and make decisions based on that and my judgment, not political boondoggles or my own ego.
Okay, Alan.
Kia ora. So I'm a truly independent candidate with no party affiliations. I have a positive vision for how Wellington and the inner city can be better, with some high value ideas that won't cost the earth. And I've got to focus on those three aspects: better parks, green space, focus on strengths-based sustainable transport and quality housing for all. I live in the ward, and to me it's important that you do have representation of people who live here to make the decisions for inner city. I've got the skills and experience to get on with a wide range of people to make positive change for all Wellington, especially for Pukehīnau. Vote number one for Alan Blake. Thank you very much, folks.
Peter.
Peter Wakeman. Well, I have run for office before, and I've learned an awful lot in different areas, from local government to central government. And at the end, money rules us, but it's nature's bank that is in control. I interviewed Guy McPherson. He believes, well, he said that with regard to climate change, 0.5 degree is what is normal, but we've exceeded a limit set by an economist. And we're on runaway path, in my view, which we can't stop. So we really have to prioritise things with better decision making by the council. And we do need ferries and infrastructure. And the Reserve Bank can create credit money to reduce our costs and increase our infrastructure. And we need more housing now. And the government, in my view, is somewhere else. But the people have to face up, vote for Wakeman, when you're number 2 or number 1.
Okay, and just before we go, I've got a cheeky question I'd like to ask. If you go to a cafe in Wellington, we have many of them here. What coffee do you purchase? Anyone knows me knows I own a coffee cart, so yes, you know. Who would like to kick off the, what's their favourite coffee? Alan?
My favourite coffee is a nice cup of English breakfast tea with milk, thanks.
Edward?
I'm a bit of a cheapo, so I'd probably go for a cheese scone if you've got those.
No, I
do love a good cheese scone.
Joan, what type of coffee?
Oatmeal latte. I'm very loyal. Oatmeal latte.
Oat milk latte. Peter?
I like the smell of coffee, but I drink hot water with lemon, sometimes soy, hot chocolate. So the smell's great, but I don't drink it anymore.
Audience members, would you like to answer this one? Good old flat white. Oh, okay, that's something different. Does Neela do your chai? Does Neela from Island Bay do your chai? Yeah, yes. That's who's the supplier for the chai at the coffee at Been Here. Yeah. Okay. So we have had that drawn on here. Actually, one thing I'd like to ask before we go, who would you recommend your voters give their second and third preference votes to based on tonight's candidates' performances? Who would be brave enough to tell their voters how they would like their number 2 and number 3s to go if they were to give you their number 1? Who's brave enough to do that?
Well, I said number 2 or number 1, so I think you can go all the way up to 7. So I know who would be competing for number 7. The invisible ones.
Zoom out the camera.
the invisible ones. I think I'm not sure which one I would give 7 to, but you know, I think if you run and there's a public meeting and you don't attend, I think number 7. Which one will I go for? I don't know.
Anyone else keen to answer?
Well, it's a real political one, isn't it?
Spicy.
Oh, I know. I have been talking to Ellen during the breaks, and I think we agree on a lot of things. I'm sure we don't in a lot of ways as well, but I think, well, I'd love you to vote Ed Griffiths 1, 2, or 3. Well, I don't know, maybe just 1 or 2. Somewhere down there, I think all of the candidates, you've got to applaud people putting themselves out for public office. It's pretty intrusive into your private life. So I think everyone's here for the right reasons, which is really cool and really laudable. Political answer, I'm sure.
Sorry, it's hot in here, so I'm fanning away. I think people will make up their own minds, and I trust the voters to make the right decisions. So go voters.
Anything you want to add, Joan?
At this moment, I will encourage the voters to visit every candidate's policy through their social media and then have a higher turnout, because I believe that you saw what you see. So you needed to put effort. As voters, you need to put effort in then the candidate's policy and make your own decision. Thank you. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you, candidates, for participating tonight, and thank you for the candidates who didn't participate tonight. You have helped these candidates answer more questions.
And thank you, Sam, and the crew.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah.
Awesome work, team.
Andre, Nick.
Okay, so
Jill.
we're going to be moving on. So tomorrow night, if you're in Wellington, got Inner City Wellington's Meet the Candidates at St Peter's Church on the Willis. Thanks, Jill. We've offered to live stream it for them because we believe it's important, especially when you got 3 candidates missing. How the hell are you meant to know where they sit on things? So tomorrow we'll be putting our cameras back out to give them the chance to present their case as well and give these other candidates a second round of it. Also, we're going to be heading up to Hamilton and they've got also a by-election in Hamilton East Ward. So we'll be at our good old fantastic favourite Hamilton venue, St Andrew's Community Church, this Auckland anniversary day. Yes, I know it's a bit different from Wellington. We do have different anniversary dates. So yes, I get to celebrate two anniversary days this year. Yes, so that will be the 29th of January. At the moment, we've got our 7 p.m. show confirmed, but if all of these 16 candidates want to participate, we're going to sit there and bring a double debate at 4 o'clock. So if you know anyone in Hamilton who's standing for council, tell them they've got to participate on It's in the Ballot. So then the voters at home have an idea who to vote for, especially since voting papers get sent out this Friday. So yes, make sure you check your letterboxes. Make sure if you've got if you haven't got that, if you moved houses but haven't put that redirection order in, head to New Zealand Post's website tonight and put it in. It's about 30. How much is redirection these days? I've lost count. I have a PO box, so I don't worry about it. But put in the redirection. Make sure that will help you ensure you get your voting papers wherever you've moved to. And if you don't get your voting papers, head to Wellington City Council offices on the terrace and do your special vote, because as we sit there and say, every vote counts. So for us here at the It's in the Ballot team, we wish you a good night, and we will see you all back on Monday for the Hamilton East Ward by-election.